Welcome to another Titan Esports interview. My name is Faris, Shoutcaster here at Titan, and I am interviewing Tilt Reboot Card's jungler, Trad, in the Titan Conqueror League. Trad, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. Obviously it's really good to be here, and I'm excited to do this interview.
Absolutely. Well, we're glad you're here and glad to kind of get some insight into you and the team you're playing for this winter. So we'll start with you. How many seasons in Titan have you played? Is this your first season? Have you played before? And if you have played before, what were the results of your previous seasons playing?
Yeah, so the first competitive split I actually played was 2 splits ago, I believe. It was 2024 summer for RDG. We got round of 12, but it was a good experience. That was when Conqueror was pretty stacked at the time, so it was a really good experience just to kind of get my head in the water for competitive. And then last split I played for XG in Eternal and Syndicate Coke, sort of, and Conqueror got kicked 5 weeks in on Coke, but we were 4-1 at the time and made it to finals on XG and Eternal.
Nice. So you went from basically being in a bottom 12 or top 12 to actually getting to a grand final. So that was a significant improvement there. So I guess that's pretty nice in that regard. So now you're on Tilt Reboot Card. Are you familiar with your team heading into the season? Have you guys played with each other before, or what have the vibes really been like with the team thus far in the season?
Yeah, so for me personally, I played with Espada and Codis on Syndicate Coke, and I always felt like we had a good synergy. Obviously, Codis is a really good shot caller. Espada is Espada, and he's always going to do really well in lane. He's always going to be a person who has a huge voice on the team. So it was good to, because we all have good synergy, right? So it's good because me and Codis are really able to kind of play off each other. And then I never really played with Measurable and who was it? It was Jacob. I've never really played with those two, but I know Jacob's really good and I know Measurable is really good. So yeah, I mean, I think we're a super good team, but yeah, it's Espada and Codis who I'd previously played with.
Nice. So that's always nice to have that little bit of extra pre-existing synergy. So you guys, while you did win both of your matches, one with a little bit of rulebook stuff, you ended up having to forfeit your one match, which is unfortunate, but you did end up winning that match. So I guess you could say that Tilt Reboot has had a pretty solid start to the season thus far as of the first 2 weeks. So would you say that pre-existing synergy has contributed to that good start for you guys? And if that's not the only reason, then what has been the main reason why you guys have had some success so far?
Well, I definitely think that the synergy has helped. Obviously, I would. So just to take you back a little bit, when we started scrimming with Reboot Card, I think we went in our first 4 scrims. I think we went 3-9.
Wow.
So and it was mostly my fault. I wasn't playing too well, but then I kind of mentally reset and I said, hey, this is what I need to do better. This is how I need to play from now on. And ever since then, I feel like I've been playing pretty well, and the team has responded to that and started playing up themselves, right? So I really feel like it's been, yeah, the synergy is there, but I also feel like I've really raised my level of gameplay, and that's kind of helped us to get off to the start.
Nice. So you're talking about you improved a lot and you kind of looked into yourself and said, what do I have to do to get better for my team? Can you talk to me a little bit more about what maybe the things you were improving on as a player, maybe as a teammate that helped you to grow?
Yeah, and I think it started with actually listening to people. You know, I was not the one who wanted to be flamed, right? I always wanted to kind of be like, this isn't my fault, but sometimes at the end of the day, you kind of have to look at yourself and say, you know, I messed this up, or, you know, stuff like that. So, but in terms of gameplay, right, it just came down to just looking at my lanes more. right? I mean, as a jungler, when you're playing these full clear Viego, Lilia champions, right? You have to be able to not only have high CS, but be able to look at your lanes and be able to intervene when you need to. That was something that took a lot of practice and a lot of VOD reviewing from me, but I think I've figured it out now, and hopefully I'll continue to be on a good form like I am right now.
Nice. So yeah, that brings me to my next point about your champion pool. So far, you've played the Lilia, you've played the Viego, your most played champion so far is Lilia. You had a nice game on Viego before. You had a Poppy game in one of your losses to Akuma Shuriken, which didn't go so well, but you are definitely more oriented, and you kind of alluded to that in your last response. You're more of a carry player. So what is it about you that suits that carry style so much?
Well, I'm not really sure, but I think that it just came from just originally always playing carries, and especially in solo queue, right? You're always gonna play carries because, you know, tanks, except for Skarner, right? And on this meta, Skarner is the only champion which I would ever play in solo queue that's a tank. Like so I think it kind of came from that, and the fact that now that jungle is more of a carry role than it's ever been. I mean, you look at the champions that are coming through, especially in comp, it's more Lilia, it's more Viego, it's more Diana now in the meta as well. And even in summer when I started playing comp, those junglers were still in the meta, right? So I think it, number one, just came from the fact that carry junglers have really always been in the meta. Obviously, like, there's been a tank meta now in top, right? So, you know, you're seeing more tanks top than ever, and it kind of forces the jungler to play bruiser or carry. So I think it came from just the way the meta was lining up, and I also think I'm just a pretty good carry player. Like, that's the style I can play, and it works.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been working pretty well so far. So you said earlier you kind of had to change up your strategy a little bit, where you're more playing towards your lanes. That's more of a competitive mindset there. You as a carry jungler, have any of your teammates had to adjust their gameplay at all to kind of accommodate a jungler who is taking a little bit more resources to carry games, or has it kind of just fit into the team's playstyle nicely without any major adjustments, do you think?
I mean, I'm sure that my laners, obviously they know that I want to play to give myself resources, so I'm sure they've had to make sacrifices themselves. They haven't really voiced it if they have, though, but I'm sure that they've had somewhere like, okay, our jungler is taking grub, so we shouldn't push in this wave. Our jungler is looking to invade, we shouldn't push this, right? Or we shouldn't take this window where we can fight. But I think that the trade-off is worth it, but I don't, in my opinion, I don't really think there's been that much of a counter effect to it. So I think it's fitting pretty well with our style.
Well, that's definitely good that you haven't had to make too many adjustments there as a squad. And you guys have been doing relatively well so far. At the top of your group sits Dorado Epsilon and Mint Crashouts. So I guess you could say those are two of the supposed top teams to start out in Group A. Do you guys think you should also be included in that conversation as a top team? And do you think you guys as a top three might remain the same? Or do you think there's some sleeper teams in Group A that you should pay attention to, or that people watching the Conqueror League should pay attention to?
Yeah, I think that, just to answer your first question, I think that the top three is pretty set. Nefarious being up there is interesting. We'll see how they play. Obviously, I don't know who they won against, but they did win against another team this week, so they very well might get that fourth seed, but I think that Dorado should be up there. I think that Mint should be up there, and I think we'll be up there. I think for sleeper teams, one that you could look at is maybe Bunny Girls up there at that 6th spot. Could they maybe make a run? I don't know. I think maybe it's either Akuma or Bunny Girls if you're looking for a sleeper team. And I would actually favor Akuma now that I'm thinking more about it, just because they have Chris on their team, and Chris is obviously a very good player, and I'm pretty sure he can carry them to a couple wins. But yeah, I think if you're looking for a sleeper team, it's got to be Akuma.
Well, there you go. Before we close off, do you have anybody you want to shout out here before the end of the interview?
Not really, no. But I hope everyone in the Conqueror League does enjoy this season. Obviously, we all come to have fun, And obviously it's nice to win, but having fun should be the top priority for anyone playing in Conk. So I hope everyone enjoys their season.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview with me today. That was Tilt Reboot Card's Jungler Trad. Hope you enjoyed the interview and stay tuned for ones in the future. Have a fantastic day, everyone.